Revision. So many of you asked for me to make an updated video on the topic of revision, and this is something that Neville Goddard spoke about quite a bit in different lectures. So I want to take away the mystical, like the impossibility feeling of what revision is, and we're going to dive into what it looks like and why you may have tried it and not have seen results. We're going to get into this and really simplify it and see where you are with revision, and if this is what you actually have done, and if not, how you can instantly transform this. So stick with me. You're gonna like this video. I'm excited for this video, and we're gonna get to it. But before we get started, my name is Rose, and welcome to The Rosey Life, where we help you free your mind and follow your heart so you can live a life that you love. If you're interested in working one-on-one with me or joining the Rosey Life course and community, you can learn all about that at RoseyLife.com. You'll see the different options on how to do coaching with me. So, okay, so let's get into revision. So Neville Goddard talked about in many different lectures of his the power of revision. And revision is a technique. That's the first thing I want to tell you, okay? The term revision, the way that revision is used by people, and even when Neville Goddard talked about it, he talks about the power of revision. In one of his lectures, he refers to a woman who said that there's so many things that she wanted different in her life, and she didn't know which one to start with. So he suggested to her to do that, isn't it wonderful, right? And go to the end of that feeling of like, isn't it wonderful? Also, like, I remember when, right? I remember when I struggled and now I am wealthy, and then I became wealthy overnight. I remember when. These are examples of using revision. So what I have noticed, and comment below if this is you too, okay? What I noticed with a lot of people is something that I used to do, and it really wasn't registering that I was doing this, okay? That to revise something, what we understand initially is that there's something about the past that we don't like and we want different. So we go to that moment and then we revise the scene and rewrite it to something that we would have rather have experienced. Okay, and it doesn't matter what the topic is about. Okay, if it's money, people, experiences, grades, whatever. I've heard so many different examples of revision, okay? But that's the idea, is that we think that there's something in the past that happened, and we remember it that way, and we don't like that, and we want a different outcome. We want something different. And logically, okay, if you think about it, it's because you're wanting to revise the past because you don't like the present circumstance or the present effect of what happened back then. So whatever it is that you're trying to change or revise is to get this present moment to be different, so you didn't experience the effects of it. Like if you got bad grades in school, you don't want the ripple effects of what happened after it. And you think that by changing that your present circumstances can be different. Logical, makes logical sense. So many people turn to revision to rewind or revise that experience so that their present outcome can be different. So here is the thing, okay? And that is totally possible, 100%, okay? But here's the thing. When I worked with clients as a psychotherapist for years, for many years, I worked with severe trauma clients that had gone under some unimaginable circumstances with trauma. And one of the things that I was trained in working with trauma victims. That's what we called them then. Okay, it's not what I do anymore. I'm not a therapist anymore. But this is the terminology that we used in the psychology world. When I worked with these trauma victims, what I did, one of the main techniques that I used for all my clients, and different therapists use different forms of techniques and different ways of treating their clients, okay? But for me, the only one that ever registered, and this is long before I knew about Neville Goddard or manifesting or the law or anything, one of the main techniques that I used was I had my clients tell me their story of what happened, and I would watch them relive it again and again and again. And with that modality, the goal was to tell the story so many times until they were not emotionally like turmoiled or traumatized by it, because them telling the story so many times, every time they would tell it, it would soften the emotional response to it, the present emotional response to it, so that every time they would do it, it would lessen and lessen and lessen. In their mind, it still happened, but in the current circumstance, they felt less emotionally attached to the story. However, what I quickly realized back then was that I would see them go through this long process of retelling the story. And I said, what if you just said a new story? In other words, what if you created some different version of this story? Like some of those actors are still there, but the way that you responded to what happened was different. The way that the other people involved or the circumstances involved were different. What if you came out of this with a different outcome, like you didn't come out of this? And they're like, well, Rose, that's not what happened. And I said, I know, I get that. I said, but what if right now, since we're watching you react to a memory, I said, what if we just changed your memory, your story about it, so that your right now feels different? And it would take them a minute, because they're just like, they felt like they were denying their past. They felt like they were having to let go of a painful thing that happened to them. And I said, well, what was the purpose of holding on to that memory right now? Like, what does it do for you? What does it serve you? How does it help you in your life right now, with your family, your work, your everyday? I said, how is it helping you to remember that this way? And they would get that, and they said, well, it doesn't, but it really happened. And I said, I know. I said, but what if you just changed the story and decided to remember it differently, so that right now you feel good, so that right now your relationships, your job, your finances, your everything is going to be based off of this new story? What if you did that? I said, would you want that outcome, or would you rather hold on to the old story and figure out ways to cope and deal with that outcome? And they always chose that first one, right? So then they began to change their story. And the funny thing enough is, when they did change their story, their memory of that old story would begin to just fade. And more amazing is the family members and the people involved all responded to these clients differently, and they had different reactions, different perspectives, because without me knowing then, those circumstances were leading her to a new state, and everyone in them also was responding and reacting to these clients differently. So it brought me back to this realization again, that when we want to revise something, right, we're revising because we want our present circumstances to have a different effect. Well, in order to change the effect of what you are experiencing now, you must first remember you are the cause. So you are the cause, meaning your selection of your memories, your selection of your story, your selection of your thoughts are what causes you to experience the current effect. Because, as you know, past does not exist. The future does not exist. We can only experience the present. And it's not just to, enjoy the present, there's only now. No, it's true. But you can only experience the present. You can only experience past thoughts from the present, and you can only experience seeming future thoughts from the present as well. So here's what I noticed. Someone wants to revise the past because they want a different present outcome. However, what they do is they think that they're going to remain in this current reality or this current version or current state that they're in, but the only thing that's going to change is that specific thing that happened to them in the past, that's going to change as you stand there and acting like nothing in your world is changing, but you just want that thing to change, but yet you think that you're going to see that thing changing from the same state that you're in. In other words, you want them or that to change, but you don't want to move from this state. Doesn't work like that. So revision, okay, here's what I mean. So these different numbers are just different alternate realities, okay? Different states of being, different options. So let's say that you're here. Your X marks the spot. This is where you're at. And from where you're at, your past, P is for past, F is for future. All air quotes because there is no past and future. So you're now, right, where you are, you don't like this thing that happened to you in the past. You say, I want this outcome to happen instead. Okay, so let's just use a grades, for example. Okay, let's say that this current version you had failed a class or you got a low GPA and you didn't want that. So instead you're saying, Rose, I want this version, this past to have happened where I got all A's, okay? And you're saying, okay, so I'm going to revise and imagine and script from this state. I want that outcome, but I'm not moving. I want this outcome to come here so that my future, my present, and my future is always different. I want my present and my future to align with this past because I don't want this past. Do you see? This doesn't even make logical sense when you start looking at it, because this reality, this state of being is written. It's already done. The creation is finished. You can't change this timeline. You can't change this reality. You can't change this state. You're wanting this outcome to come here so that now in future has a different outcome. But you're still holding on to this state, this past. You're standing in the past, in the timeline of the past that you don't want, but you're looking over here at this timeline saying, I want that past to happen to come over here and change this state. Nope. This is where what I used to do too, is like I didn't get it. It's like I didn't realize that I could jump timelines. I could jump states. So this is where the struggle is. And this goes, by the way, this goes for all manifesting, all techniques, that when you're trying to change something here, like you want something from these other states, but you aren't moving. In other words, you aren't letting go of this state. You're thinking that you're stuck in this state because you see it, touch it, hear it, smell it, that you're bringing something into this state. No. You are moving in consciousness, in imagination, to this state where the A's happened. And this present version of you is not going to have the same feelings, regret, reaction, shame, worry, fear from this state. This version of you is going to have a different past, which changes your present circumstances, your present reactions, your present everything, and of course, your seeming future. But when you're trying to change it from here and you're revising, thinking that you're going to bring this past over into this reality, that's what I see many people misunderstand. Revision is also changing states. When you revise something that you experienced already, you are literally changing states. You're changing the version of you that has a different past, that has a different present, and that has a different seeming future based off of this. So if you're like wanting this, but you're still, like regretting and shame and looking and searching and wondering why the past and the future don't look any different for you, that's because you're still here trying to drag in that past into this timeline, and you can't do that. That's the whole meaning of creation is finished. You are in this state, wanting this one, but still holding on to this version of you. So you have to move in consciousness to this state where the past happened, and you allow whatever story has been going on here, whatever's been playing out in your current circumstances, you allow that to play out because you've been living in it, all right? But in consciousness, you're holding on to this state, this version of you has this past, and that's it. You claim this is what happened. This is your reality. This is who you are. And you can do this a couple of ways by either revising the story, or you simply go to the end right now. From now, the person that this happened, how does she or he feel right now? If this straight A thing happened, what would you be experiencing right now? Meaning experiencing within, not like so much outside, but how would you be experiencing this, right? What would be different? You wouldn't be worried, you wouldn't be seeking, you wouldn't feel shame or guilt. You wouldn't be avoiding or wanting people to delete or disappear from your life. You wouldn't have never met someone. I've heard so many stories, you guys, like this. I would have never wanted to meet these people. I didn't want anything to do with him. You wouldn't be in that state of being because in this state, right, it's different. You have a different past, different present, different future, and you have different thoughts, different feelings, different reactions. They're all contained in each different state. So over here, revision is not about the past, which a lot of people think revision is about past, right? There is no past. You're changing states of consciousness. You're changing your memory about it. You're remembering something differently. And when you do that, you change your present and your seeming future, right? So revision is about changing states. Okay, so it's not about the past. Revision is about changing states. Revision, right? Revision changes past, the now, and the future, but you must let go of this state. So again, you must let go of the state that you're currently in that does not contain your past or your current effect that you desire. You must change and move in consciousness to this one. While you watch this one fade out, you can't change this. You move to the version of you that has it, and you remain faithful to this new choice because that is what your awareness is. You shine your awareness on the preferred state that you want to dwell in, and you allow the other state to fade out and play whatever has to play out. And how long, it doesn't matter. It could be a minute, a day, a month, a year. It doesn't. What your job is the persistence of this. And the more that you react and respond and engage and check and want this to be different, that's just showing you're still holding on to this. So the more you hold on to this, right? That is your evidence, and you will feel it. You will experience, things will start shifting around. Things will start glitching out like in the Matrix, right? Things will look weird, but you in consciousness, you remain to this, because wherever you are, you're in awareness, right? Whatever you're aware of, that is where I am is with you. So if you're here, then I am with you here. If you're here, I am with you here. If you keep flip-flopping around, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and you're like, you know what, screw it. I'm just going to go over here. It doesn't matter where you go. If you feel like giving up, if you feel like this doesn't work, wherever you go in awareness, I am is with you. You are, that is wherever you go, there you are. So you can't escape this selection of states, because you are powerful, and your awareness is what creates your reality. Your awareness is what creates the revision of the seeming past, now, and future. I intend this video really helps you understand revision, and that you use it this way. Remember, revision is not necessary. It's a technique, and you can say it however you want. In a lot of lectures and textbook, they use different language, like I remember when, isn't it wonderful? And you can say that, but the words don't mean anything, right? If you want to kind of give it a refresh, like remodel the revision story, think of it more like, how would you talk right now? Like say, oh, actually, that's not what happened. Here's what really happened. This is what really happened. I just thought that's what happened, but that's not really what really happened. Do you see? That's how I talk. And so you want to think of a way that you would have a conversation with people or a friend. You're like, no, that's not what happened. What really happened was this. Like if you're hanging out with people and they're saying, oh, guess what happened, this and that, and you're just like, no, what really happened was this, because I was there. Do you see? That's revision too. And you don't have to have a conversation with another person. Remember, it's all in consciousness. You move in consciousness. Revision is not necessary for you to have a different outcome. It's a technique. You just need to go to the end. You need to decide whatever it is that you want and remain faithful there. But remember that even that new outcome or the new now moment that you want different, your present circumstances, you can't drag this one into this state, because then you're trying to change creation. You're trying to change the states that already existed. And you don't have to. In fact, that's too much freaking work, right? Trying to change a state. You can try, but it'll feel weird and forced and like a lot of work. Instead, just drop the bags, drop the suitcases, and walk out and move into a new state where everything is already exactly the way that you want it to be. And everyone and everything must conform and reflect this new state. People won't disappear. Nothing, like people are afraid of, like, oh, my cat's going to disappear, or what will happen to my mom or my friend or my teacher. Look, your higher self, your awareness knows exactly what you want. So this is not some like weird, weird freaky thing happening here. You're just moving in awareness, and the same people that are involved are going to conform and reflect your new state of being, your new choice. All right, my loves, thank you so much for liking the video. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. And I love you guys so much and appreciate your support always. I will see you soon, because you're all freaking amazing. I'll see you soon. Bye.